Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. The vote on the Democrats' $3.5 trillion spending bill was delayed once again. And the bill, which is loaded with many items from the Democrats' wish list, is encountering increasing resistance. The decision by a famous Massachusetts-based gun manufacturer to leave the state has once again brought up the topic of gun control. A former Atlanta police officer saw a growing number of troubled teens destroying their lives and decided to help them get back on track. Make sure you stay around to the end so that you can hear his extraordinary story. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. We'll start today's show with the latest developments in the Senate. A self-described pro-life Democrat, Senator Joe Manchin, affirmed that the massive spending bill to fund President Joe Biden's economic agenda must include the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal funding for abortion to gain his support. That puts congressional Democrats' plans to expand Medicaid on ice. He told National Review on Wednesday the amendment must be included in the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, or he will not vote for it. Although a Democrat, Manchin has a different view on abortion than many in his party. In 2011, he described himself as a pro-life and proud of it. He has also been a vocal supporter of the Hyde Amendment, most recently co-writing a letter in July calling on the Senate Appropriations Committee to include the provisions in the fiscal year 2022. Named after its chief sponsor, Republican Representative Henry Hyde from Illinois, the amendment was originally passed by the House of Representatives in 1976. At the time, it was seen as a legislative victory for the anti-abortion movement following the 1973 Supreme Court ruling in Roe v. Wade. Over the years, the amendment has been changed several times. From 1981 to 1993, it banned the use of federal funds for abortions except in cases where the life of the mother would be endangered if the fetus was born. However, then President Bill Clinton signed a bill in 1993 that allowed federal funds to be used for Medicaid abortions in cases of rape and incest. President Joe Biden previously supported the Hyde Amendment when he was a member of the Senate, but promised to repeal the measure during his 2020 presidential campaign. His budget does not include the Hyde Amendment. Democrats are trying to use a process called budget reconciliation to pass through a spending package that would prevent the bill from being canvassed. This would allow the package to pass the Senate without a Republican vote, but Democrats would need the full support of their party members. However, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday again delayed a vote on the Democrats' bill. The postponement came as two key Senate moderates, Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema, indicated they wouldn't support the bill without adjustments. Manchin said in a statement, "The reconciliation bill would be driven by what we need and can afford, and not by re-engineering the social and economic fabric of the nation or vengefully tax for the sake of wishful spending." Let's dive into the issue of firearms control. Pointing to a lack of support for the Second Amendment in Massachusetts, gun manufacturer Smith & Wesson plans to relocate its headquarters from Springfield to Tennessee. It will be investing $125 million in its relocation and taking 750 jobs. Tennessee's Department of Economic and Community Development confirmed that the gun maker would move its headquarters and some of its operations to Maryville, some 18 miles south of Knoxville. Groundbreaking is planned before the end of the year. Company CEO Mark Smith cited legislation proposed by Massachusetts State Representative Bud Williams and others, if enacted, would prohibit the company from manufacturing certain firearms in the state that are banned for sale. That list includes high-capacity military-style rifles and some handguns. Smith said that the products that Massachusetts bans made up 60% of the company's revenue last year, and if these restrictions continue, then the company has no choice but to move its operations. Tennessee is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment's rights, and with low cost of living and the support the state is willing to give the company, it is the ideal location for Smith & Wesson's new headquarters, Smith added. Gun regulation has been one of the focal points of social commentary for decades. The left tends to link crime to gun control. In fact, states that have implemented strict gun regulations tend to have higher crime rates. Chicago, where guns are banned, and New York, where gun control is strict, have some of the highest violent crimes and homicide rates in the United States. 10 of the 15 cities with the highest homicide death rates in the U.S. have some of the strictest gun control laws in the country. The four largest cities in the U.S., New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Washington, D.C., have 6% of the country's population and 20% of the homicide deaths. Common sense dictates that a gun can be used for self-defense as well as for acts of aggression. The left usually doesn't like to identify the root cause of the problems, but prefers to throw a lot of money at band-aid solutions, like giving massive amounts of welfare to refugees without caring about how they will survive if the handouts end, or deliberately opening the borders to bring in large number of refugees without caring about the American taxpayer who foots the bill. Inspector General Michael Horowitz with the Department of Justice issued a report on the FBI's applications to surveil American citizens, finding widespread failure that raises serious questions. He reviewed around 7,000 applications for Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA warrants, the same used to surveil former President Donald Trump's campaign ad, Carter Page, in 2016, and found the agency failed to follow a key rule, the Woods procedure. In late 2019, Horowitz discovered 17 significant errors and omissions in the FISA surveillance application targeting Page. The audit of the agency's Woods procedures, rules that the FBI follows to ensure that FISA applications are scrupulously accurate, found sweeping non-compliance that raises serious questions about the adequacy and execution of the supervisory review process, Horowitz concluded. The FBI's quality control of officials apparently missed these problems. His office also identified 183 FISA applications that had a missing or incomplete Woods file, which is a document meant to ensure the accuracy of statements made to the secretive FISA court. The report also found hundreds of other cases where there were instances of non-compliance with the agency's Woods procedures. After Horowitz's first findings were released in 2019, Special Counsel John Durham later filed charges against former FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith for falsifying a document used in a FISA warrant to surveil Page. He pleaded guilty in August of last year. The recent audit report is an extension of an earlier one that was issued by Horowitz in March of 2020. And coming up, a former police officer starts a school to help troubled teens. But before we continue, I just want to stress how important it is as the viewer to help us get the truth out to as many people as possible. Please take the time to like this video and share it across all your social media. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you can be notified every time we post a new video. I'd like to thank you all for your continued support. Okay, let's get back to the show. When a man's compassion comes out, God will use his hands to help people. We have such a story today. Steve Finn, 51, is a former Atlanta police officer. After seeing too many teens fall through the cracks of the social service system, he decided to hang up his badge and give them a second chance. Steve said, "I saw more and more young people making really poor decisions that were sending them to jail for the remainder of their youth or sending them to the grave early. With a strong desire to make a greater impact on the lives of these troubled young men, Finn asked God, 'What do you want me to do with the time I'm here?' Finn, along with his wife, a social worker, soon found their way. They were invited to Eagle Ranch Christian Boys' Home north of Atlanta. With the successful model in mind, the Finns started the journey of running a boys' school of their own. In 2003, Finn and his wife left their careers. They traveled to the poorest state in the country, West Virginia, where they felt they were needed the most to start their school. At the time, the Finns only had money to keep themselves fed for a year. If they didn't succeed after 12 months, they would have to move back to Atlanta. However, the Finns knew if what they wanted to do was in God's plan, it would succeed. If not, it wouldn't. It seemed God wanted to test their resolve first. Months passed, but the Finns didn't make much progress. At one point, they were down to their last $25. But then miracles started happening. Funds suddenly came in from very unlikely sources. Atlanta Falcon players, churches in West Virginia, and churches in Georgia were sending money. The Finns finally got enough to purchase the land they needed and were debt-free. They built the Chestnut Mountain Ranch. However, the challenge had just started. Finn said the boys who came there were not looking to improve their grades. They came because of anger issues, because of broken families. Many were in the foster system. These boys had their wounds. How would Chestnut Mountain take care of them? The school's program is based on a model of unconditional love. While still being held accountable, the boys are building up their God-given strengths in the meantime. Whether it be in arts, mechanics, computers, these young men need to find their desires to want to do something wonderful with their lives. The school has been successful since its inception some 13 years ago. One of their first boys, who arrived at age 13, was deeply troubled, later became a part-time police officer and a full-time federal prison guard. Finn said the young man is probably making twice as much as he is now. Quite amazingly, in 2018, then President Trump learned of Chestnut Mountain School. He invited Finn and some of the boys to the White House to meet him and Vice President Mike Pence. Finn later received an invitation from Pence to join in his weekly Bible study in his office. Finn then turned his precious opportunity into a leadership trip. The school would rent suits for them to study the Bible in the White House. One of Pence's staff would give the boys a tour which would blow most people away. One boy who made the trip twice was Anthony. Anthony's parents suffered from addiction. The boy had been in and out of foster care and was very distrustful of adults. After soaring at the Chestnut Mountain program, Anthony's return home was short-lived. His mother literally dropped him off at Finn's house, saying she was done being his parent. The Finns asked Anthony, "Do you want us to adopt you?" The boy said, "Yes, please." Since then, the family has seen a fine young man come out. Anthony became a football star and is now set to graduate high school and hopes to one day play college ball. Finn now hopes to add 4 more homes on the property and raise their capacity to 49 boys. Their ultimate goal is to expand the program to help boys across America get a second shot at life. Most schools today focus only on teaching students knowledge and skills. However, to succeed in life, the spiritual strength of a person is vital. Spiritual growth gives young people principles, strong moral character, and a purpose to life. A person who's spiritually strong is able to overcome difficulties and make good choices. Wouldn't that be a wonderful way to teach children? Enlightening teenagers stems from the goodness of God. This is the root cause for Finn's success and his Chestnut Mountain School. Finn has found his purpose. He wants to help more young men who made mistakes early in life find their right path and be closer to God. Have you found or thought of your purpose in life? At Eye Opener, we honor truth and tradition. In today's increasingly confounding environment, we strive to bring hope and inspire goodness for all. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on Newmaker, Gab, Parler, and Getter. And don't forget, please sign up to the email list so that we can stay in touch. I'd like to thank you all and have a wonderful weekend.